And greetings, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Dreamscapes. Today we have our friend Dio with us, and it's like the third time in a row I forgot to say, where in the world are you, if that's okay to say?
I live in Arizona.
Wonderful. Dio from Arizona. Great. And she's going to share her dream with us. So we were actually just talking a little bit of, and I wish I'd recorded it. You said you had some other very vivid dreams.
Yeah. I don't need my glasses to read. So, my freshman year of high school, a lot of crap had recently gone down in my life, and I was just trying to cope with it. And I think it kind of started to manifest itself in my dreams, because I specifically remember I was 15, went to bed, bottom bunk. I had a bunk bed, and my dream, I won't go into that one because we're talking about a different one. Mm-hmm. We can do that some other time or in this later if you'd like. But from that day on, I had the same themed nightmare every single night with different people, and they were all either my family members or people I deeply cared about. The first one featured my mom. The second one was my friends, like a group of my friends. The third one was my little brother. There was another one where it was just like all of my family members on my dad's side. So all the people I used to live with in my grandma's house. And like every single night, same thing, same scenario, different ways it was executed, different people, different endings. But it would always end in me dying and I'd wake up. Okay. Like it would be black and I'd just wake up. So after that, a little while ago, it just stopped out of nowhere and I was like, okay, fine. Because I eventually got to the point where I was having these nightmares so frequently, I would just avoid sleep. I would go to bed at 2 or 3 a.m., wake up at 5, go to school, and then stay up just so I wouldn't sleep. And then I started having different nightmares that always had bugs in them, and that went on for like 1 to 2 weeks, and it stopped. So the other night, when I had this one, I was like confused by it because it didn't fall into theme with any of the other ones. And every time I have a dream that's not a nightmare, it's just weird. Like, it has absolutely no meaning. It makes no sense. In one of them, my brother thought I was going to kill him for his shirt. And I was chasing him through this, like, nightclub funhouse of mirrors area with, like, shifting lights and different stairs and, like, hallways and corners, trying to explain to him, no, Garrett, I'm not going to hurt you. You're my brother. I don't care about your shirt. And eventually he called the cops, and instead of attack dogs, they had deer.
Attack deer.
And the deer were like sliding and falling all around this like little club, trying to like skirt around hallways to get at me. It wasn't happening.
That's pretty awesome. You know, I've been talking to a guy who does animations about trying to get some of these descriptions animated. It's just fantastically bizarre. They could be 5, 10, 15 seconds, like just what you said. Deer slipping all over the place in the little police helmets. And
the deer sliding around. They didn't have helmets. They had like the canine vests.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty cool. Oh man. Well, so you had this,
and it fell into the category of weird dream, but nightmare stuff that would happen in my other dreams, and I was like, why?
Yeah.
And in this dream, I also recognized places I'd been in other dreams, but in the dream, I wasn't like, oh, I've been here in other dreams. It was like, yeah, this is what the town looks like, because I used to have dreams where there was this little. This will play into it later, I didn't have a car until 3 weeks ago when I got my license. So in dreams up until recently, I would walk everywhere or ride my bike or use my rollerblades. Okay. Like how I do in real life. And there is this little path I would take. And if you go, it's like through the woods. And in each of my dreams, it's like places I know in real life, but they're changed just a little bit. Like they're in different locations and they look a little different and they do different things. So there's this little path that I would use to take to my secret hideout in Alaska, and in my dream, that functions as you turn right, go to school, turn left, main town, and my house. So, like, I know all these different locations, and they're starting to converge together in my dreams as, like, one town, and pretty much all of my dreams happen in this town.
Interesting.
In my dreams. It's weird.
You're kind of mapping a known landscape in your mind of places ideas, symbols you've visited before. It's very interesting. And so we can see how that plays into this current dream. So what was the one you had most recently?
Okay, so I was in my car, which if you want a visual for it, it's a red Honda Accord 2006. She's old. Like, my mom drove this car from when I was little. I've been in this car my whole life, and now it's mine. Stickers all over it. So I was in my car, and I pull out of the elementary school that I used to go to in Tucson. So I can tell you all these locations in real life because they're in my dreams. So in Sonita Valley Elementary, but it looks different in my dreams. I pull out of the parking lot down to a little intersection. Not a four-way stop, but you know how streetlights look. If you're watching, probably. I don't know. Maybe you don't drive. But I turn left at the intersection, and I'm going down another road, and then I turn into a gas station area. It looked like a little log cabin, and now that I think about it, my boyfriend and I play Minecraft together, and it's like this is our show, you can't watch it without me type of thing, but you can't play the game without me type of thing. So when he was out for a weekend, unable to play, I went on a trek and built him a log cabin because he really wanted one. And when he came back, I surprised him with it, and it looked like my Minecraft log cabin, but not Minecraft, like real materials. But this was a gas station. I could see vending machines in through a little window, and the rows of snacks and stuff, and pull-offs for gas pumps. So I park in front. The pumps are forward to my left, and I'm looking through a side window before you go to the back, and then the front is over to the left. So I go out at night, and I park my car in front of the gas station. It's like a convenience store log cabin, and I start walking left towards these woods that, now that I'm awake, look like the woods that I used to go into where my secret hideout was in Alaska, but they're covered in snow. Just snow everywhere. I'm trudging through it. It's up to my calf, over my ankle. Trudging through the snow, through the woods, down a little trail. And I went mule deer hunting because I can hear other people around me in camo with their packs and their guns talking about how, the hunt might get closed, dude. It's so dangerous. Everybody gets hurt every year, and people are going missing and having to end up in the hospital if they get found, or people are having accidents. The hunt might get closed. They might close the hunt. It's oh, dude, I don't want them to close the hunt. I have fun in this hunt every year. So I'm going mule deer hunting. And I am walking through the woods down this trail, and I get to a frozen over lake. So snow over everything. I can see woods on the other side if you want to cross it. But while I'm going down there, right before I hit the lake, I can see it in the distance. Maybe I'm 40 yards away. In my dream, I recognized it as a goat. But now that I'm awake, maybe it was a piebald deer. It looked like it had horns and it was small and stout, but I don't know. So I see this goat or deer, come running up, trying to go past me with her two babies in tow. And someone takes a shot at it and hits it, and it dies. And I immediately think, that's clearly a mother and not a deer. You can't do that. What the hell? And I was really upset by it, but I kept walking because this is just how this hunt is. It's super crazy. You can't do anything about it. You just gotta keep going through and mind your own business and report it if you see it. So that people like that aren't allowed to come here anymore, so it's enjoyable for everyone else. So I get down to the bank, and they hit that goat deer because they were aiming for a buck, and they completely missed. So I get down to the bank, and there's a huge, fat buck on the middle of the lake. Just big boy, 8-point maybe. Super chunky, super fat. And he's standing in the middle of the lake, and I see a dude on the other side of the lake in camo raise up his gun. I didn't know what it was. All the guns looked the same, generic video game shotgun, but clearly not a shotgun, because you don't use that on deer. I see him go to take aim at this deer, and he completely misses and hits the elk standing right next to it. And as soon as he hit the elk, the side of it fell off, all the skin and fur, and there was exposed bone and meat, and you could see into its chest cavity. And it was clearly immediately wounded and injured, and he starts doing his call, screaming. And So he completely misses and hits the elk, and then he like reloads to take another shot to try and put it down and misses the elk. And then on this lake too, there were two birds that kind of looked like storks, but they were more pretty. They had like black pattern, almost like tabby cats around their eyes going down to their necks, and like little feathers flowing out. And I recognized these as endangered birds, and I was like, wow, those are super pretty. So he misses the elk trying to put it down and like shoots off this bird's head. I'm like, oh my god. So I turn around to leave because I'm crying at how upset I am over seeing all this. So in the dream I started crying, and I turned to leave because the elk side was completely torn and exposed. There was bone and muscle. And when I turned around down the path, almost up a hill, even though that's not what it looked like I could recognize in the dream I was walking down a hill, but it wasn't so steep that I couldn't see over the hill. So when I turn back around, I can't see over this hill, and there's someone standing right next to this bird that's just been shot, and it is completely sliced down the middle. Like, you can see neck cavity and stomach open, and it's like dripping blood, super gory and horrible, and I'm crying more, and I just like shield my eyes and run past it. And even though I recognized this bird on the lake to be skinny, when I turned around, it looked more like a pelican-shaped body. So the bird changed as well. So I turn to leave, and I see the bird. I felt horrible in the dream, and I recognized, like, hunting, at least the way I see it, you don't do it because it's fun or because you want to trophy hunt. You do it, at least the way I think it should be done. Hunting is used for preservation of species and environments, because if hunting wasn't around, animals would just suffer through the winter and they would starve and die, instead of just being shot and eaten and used completely. I think it's more of a conservation thing than like a, ooh, look at me, I got this giant buck and I'm the best hunter in the world. I think it should be more of like a spare the animal the pain of going through winter and use all of its body for your own sustenance and things in your home. Mm-hmm. So I recognized in the dream, like, this isn't what hunting should be. There's just chaos and bullets are flying everywhere. People could get hit. No one's practicing hunter safety. I don't even know if they have their gun licenses. All these animals are being hit and killed for no reason, and they're innocent. They don't deserve this. They're suffering everywhere. And I was crying as I was walking out through the woods to go back to my car to go home. And I hated it. And in the dream, I felt horrible for the poor animals, because hunting is about making sure you have a clean shot so you don't cause suffering and make sure you hit the right target. So, like, all the missed deer and then missing the elk again and then hitting that goat deer thing, like, was just wrong to me, completely wrong. So as I'm walking out, I'm reading this directly from Reddit. I lost my place.
It's okay. Take your time.
Okay, so I'm walking out, and a stranger, starts following me. I'm going like, hey, do you need help to your car? Do you need help getting out of here? Would you allow me to accompany you? This place isn't safe for a pretty young lady like you. Just really predatory, really creepy. And they kept pestering me. I was like, no, I'm fine, thank you, I'm fine. Go enjoy your day, I'm fine, thank you. Please leave me alone, I'm fine. And they wouldn't stop until I said yes. And one thing I remember they said was they wouldn't let up about following me to my car to make sure a lady like me was safe. So I remember him going, well, I just want to make sure a pretty little lady like you is safe getting back to her vehicle. So we walk, and we're having some sort of like casual conversation. I don't even remember what. And then for the rest of it, we walked in silence until I get back to the gas station thing where my car is. And I'm going. And I remember when I left my car, I had locked the doors and all the windows were rolled up. I always do that because Arizona is like a huge trafficking state, and I'm a little bit paranoid every time I go out. Like, make sure your assets and you are secure. So I remember when I left, everything was fine. So when I come back, he's saying goodbye to me. And now that I'm back, I recognize this person as my friend Alec. Even though in the dream they were still a stranger and I hadn't looked at their face when we were walking through the woods, this was my friend Alec. He was still a stranger in the dream. He was not Alec in the dream. I didn't know his name. I didn't know where he's from, but he had the physique of my friend. And Alec is a huge dude. He's 6'10". He's like almost 300 pounds. He was going to go play football for U of A, but instead decided to go to college for culinary. So just huge guy. And he's part of the drag racing scene here in Tucson. Yeah, so that's him. That's my friend. So I remember being around him in cars all the time. So maybe that's why my dream was like, hey, this is him because car. So we're back. And when we got to my car, I noticed my purse was missing. And I look over and I see him getting into his car to leave with my purse around his arm. So I go over and I remember just taking it back from him like, hey, dude, what the hell? And I take it back. And then I go over to my car and I get in. All the doors are unlocked. The windows are down. My immediate thought is like, shit, someone stole from me. But I'm like, nope, just get out of there. We'll deal with it later. So I fixed all that, locked my doors, rolled up my windows, and I started driving back home. But I noticed someone was following me, so I turned off all my headlights and I drove through a neighborhood. I took like 4 right turns, make sure they're following you before you go insane. So I like turned through all this neighborhood with my lights off till I lost them and ended up at the intersection where I turned left to go to the gas station, but now I'm going straight and I'd lost them through the neighborhood. So, and this is the point where I remembered locations from different dreams, but in the dream I did not recognize them as dream locations. I was like, this is what this town looks like. Even though there was no correlation between these dreams other than the town that I'm in. So, so I even wrote in my post, I'm thinking it's different parts of the same town because I normally don't remember other dreams. And I've even noticed more recently, I'm starting to become a little more aware that I'm dreaming in my dreams. I'll like see things and I'll be like, oh yeah, remember that one time? But it'll be like it actually happened and not in a dream. And then I'll wake up and be like, why am I dumb? So I'm going home, and instead I end up going to college, which is weird because I don't go to college in real life. And I remember going down like a submarine kind of shaft-ish thing, and that also correlates to other dreams because when I was like little, like 8, I used to have dreams where I was in a playground that was a water park. So this playground eventually turned into a huge water park, and for some reason, like the McDonald's play place running through the tunnels and all that. In these younger dreams, I would go to run through tunnels, but to enter these tunnels, they were just these teeny tiny little holes, and I'd be like, I can't fit through that, but I'd get through it, like Santa Claus myself through the chimney somehow. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember there was a specific method I had to do it. Like, you have to enter head first and not be afraid. Don't even think that you're going through this, and you'll just end up on the other side. Don't even worry about it.
Commit to something that seems impossible and you just kind of figure it out. Yeah. Fair enough.
I remember this kind of like submarine shaft-ish thing, except it's an open area. Like, kind of like how a bullet shell looks, but this is a building. So the top is open and there's an open area and then a ladder, but right in front of me is like the crank. So I enter the school through this ladder and I drop down to the dorms, little apartment buildings, and I walk down the dorm area, and to the left is like more school. You go downstairs and there's like a gym area with a pool and a tennis court and running machines, treadmills and ellipticals, like a huge gym. And then if you just go right without going down the stairs, it's the cafeteria. So I go there and run into Mace Windu, who is a professor at the college. He's not Mace Windu in my dream. It's just Samuel L. Jackson in his robes, but he's a college professor. There is no lightsaber. And I'm talking to him, and I'm like, oh, hey, where's this professor? I don't even remember his name. I was like, where is this professor? I want to talk to him about something. I don't remember what it was. Yeah, I ended up at my college. I don't go to college in real life. I wanted to share something with a professor who was known for his tennis games and could have gone pro before he was injured, so like before the accident. And I'm talking to Mace Windu like, oh man, he's such a good tennis player. And I think I brought this up because I can see my professor down in like the tennis court area right next to the pools playing tennis with another student. And I was like, oh, he was so talented. He could have gone pro. He could have been in the Olympics. He could have done so well before the accident. And I recognized that this accident had something to do with his knee. I don't know why. So I go down the stairs to talk to him, and I find out that he's murdered someone through the other student he's playing games with because she's confronting him. She's like, I know what you did to so-and-so. I think it was like Sarah or Jessica or something. Like, Sarah is an ex-girlfriend of my boyfriend, and Jessica is my stepsister's name. So, I don't know. But she goes, I know what you did to so-and-so. I'm going to report you to the police. You're going to jail forever. You're never going to get away with this. And he loses it, whips out, like, a hairdryer looking thing, but it has a clear glass dome where you can see what it's sucking up. Basically a handheld vacuum in a hairdryer shape. I don't remember what he says, but he like gets her in a chokehold and puts this to her skull and starts like sucking out pieces of her skull, and it's just her skull and her hair, and you can see her brain intact under it, but it's like slowly gathering more and more, and she's screaming like, is that all you got? Is that the best you can do, you pussy? Wow! Like she's screaming, like egging him on, and then it eventually turns into screams of agony as she's dying. And as this is happening, and I'm witnessing this from across the court, so in the dream I can recognize that I'm on the other side of the gym, but it looks like I'm right there in front of them, close-up shot on this one scene. So he's like sad about it. He goes, oh, that's no fun. I like it when I can just go in there and squish the brains myself, like grab them and crush them, which he then does once she's dead. But then I go over there and I'm like, what did you just do? I'm gonna call the cops. You're going to jail. And he goes, how could you when I can tell them you did this? And he pulls out a knife and slits his own wrist, and then pulls out a pencil sharpener and a pencil out of thin air and sharpens it, and then like holds that up like the pencil is what I cut him with, which looking back makes no sense, but in the dream I'm like, ah, damn it, I'm framed. He's got me. And then I wake up.
Okay. All of that at the very end went pretty fast, but we're gonna go over it again, and I'll probably get some more clarification. I don't know if you saw me.
You were writing away.
Writing away. I got just a few pages. That's your story. Of course, my handwriting's large and screwy, and I could hold this up to the camera, and no one could read it. It's my handwriting. That is good stuff. That's some fantastic imagery. I just realized now that I've been kind of breaking my own process as we've been going here, and I've been doing it kind of unintentionally, but like I was aware of it as I was doing it, and I just rolled with it. Is usually I just go through and get all the details again, clear my mind as we've been, and then at that moment I stop and I say, before I make any suggestions, have you put anything together, having gone through the experience of detailing it again? And that usually works better. But as we've been going here, I've been starting to kind of lay out little thoughts as we go, and you can tell some of them resonate with you, and some of them, like this last one, are not at all the right thing. So I'm kind of second guessing myself now, like, man, I wish I hadn't done
you
that.
Did aspirational, and I have like, for this might be too personal, I don't know, but for a while, since my relationship with my parents isn't good, I have been for a very long time striving to be sort of a people pleaser, at least to my parents.
Sure.
And it's not working. It's not the best. It's not going on too well. But gotcha. I've always had this feeling deep down in myself, like, I just want my dad to say he's proud of me just one time. Just once.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's perfectly reasonable. That's not I think it's a common human experience. We want our parents to look at what they've made and say, I did a good thing by creating that person. I made someone worthwhile, that's a very deep human desire for sure. So yeah, nothing wrong with it. And it doesn't always work out. And then you got to say, all right, how do I deal with that? Where do I look for other inspiration and validation? No, but as I was saying, the idea of not making suggestions, I don't generally do that, but I've been doing it a little as we go along. And it's good to say, get corrected on that regard. So the stronger association with that neighborhood is it is a maze. It is safety because it's a maze, because you could lose someone there because your friends would typically get lost there. So that's the stronger association. And that makes perfect sense too. As I said, rattling doorknobs, it looks like that wasn't quite the right one, but it did open an interesting conversation to parental relationship, which might have something to do with some of this other stuff too, or not. You never know. We'll see. So you did eventually lose him, and it brought you back out to that original intersection. And now you're kind of recognizing landmarks from other previous dreams. So you're back into, say, what your mind would consider familiar territory for you.
Because that same intersection is where I turned off to go to the gas station in the first place. So if I would have gone left at that intersection, I would have ended up back at my school, but instead I went straight.
Okay, good deal. So you're kind of crossing paths with yourself again, going back to a place you've been before and choosing a new path. You almost did kind of a loop.
Every time I've had the thought, I need to go home. But looking back now, I'm coming out of the school, going left to go home, and stopping at that gas station, and then going through the neighborhood and going straight. So maybe I needed gas before I went home or something, but
maybe the
direction in which home was changed.
Gotcha. Yeah. Or again, the dream symbolism happened in that order because there was something about seeing that as passing by the same point again is a reference to something. It's like a physical visual landmark reference to almost doing a full loop. You took a turn and you looped around and you're back where you started. So you had an experience while you were there, but it puts you at a place where you haven't progressed through to something else, if that makes sense. That it was kind of like a diversion, and you're like, well, now I got to keep going. I got to try a different path. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And so you get to this familiar thing, which is like you call it like a submarine shaft, and by that you don't mean you mean like a man-sized tube cylinder that goes down. Okay. And there was
no drive and turn into the school. I just started going straight, and then I recognized I am on the roof of my college.
Okay. So bam, car gone, sudden scene. So you reach that transition again, that intersection, and instantly you're somewhere else. Instantly you're in a new visual setting. The car's gone, and now you're at another entrance. You're at the beginning of a new experience, and it's this academic experience, or at least referencing your school that you don't go to, which may be a relevant part of why you're having imagery surrounding that. Like there's something maybe you think you can find there. That entrance is fascinating. That kind of submarine entrance thing.
Yeah. My stepdad goes to college, but I do not.
Okay.
I've been to his college, U of A. He gets very upset when I mistake it as ASU.
Okay. That's the wrong school. No, say it right. And so you get down to the bottom of this ladder, and you can see there's two paths, and there's the kind of the gym, tennis court area, and then the cafeteria. And you go to the cafeteria first, and that's where you meet the Mace Windu character. Right? Sam Jackson in his robes. That's a very iconic thing.
Mace Windu. Yeah, so this is what the entrance kind of looked like.
Yeah.
With that little submarine thing, and then the ladder going down.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. That's very interesting. Why that image? I don't know. There's a lot of potential reasons. I mean, it wasn't above ground, so to speak. It's like underground-ish. Or at least you said you were on the roof.
Yeah, I'm on the roof, and then that's the only way to get down. So roof access, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. And there's this very narrow, one person at a time. It wasn't like you were walking through a wide open, giant archway into a grand hall. It's like, here's a little narrow tube, and you got to shimmy down this ladder. That's interesting. I don't know what.
And that drops directly into student housing, like dorms.
Yeah.
And then I walk down, and cafeteria, little terrace area, stairs right in front of me. You go down, exercise, big gym place.
Yeah, and then you were there to. Okay, so you went. Did you have a sense of why you went to the cafeteria at that time?
No clue. So I wasn't in the cafeteria. Like, it was
Gotcha.
kind of a intermediate-ish area.
Okay.
So you coming straight out of the hallway, if I went right, I would have been able to go to the cafeteria, which I recognized in my dream. Like, the cafeteria is that way, but looking down, it was just completely dark. Like, there was no light past a certain point, but I knew the cafeteria was over that way.
Okay.
And if you went left, there's like a little terrace where you could overlook onto the gym, and then the stairs were right in front of me behind Mace Windu.
Gotcha. So you actually met him kind of in that area, transitional area.
Yeah, Mace Windu was only there because I've been watching a lot of Star Wars recently.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and there's probably some feeling you had about that character at the time that's like, this is a person you would expect to get this information from, in a way?
Only thing I can, like, correlate that to in real life is my boyfriend is a teacher sometimes at a local elementary school.
Sure.
He teaches in the same classroom as his mom. They're both teachers. She got an Amazon Alexa for the classroom recently, and I informed her that you can use Samuel L. Jackson as the voice instead of Alexa.
Oh my goodness.
So I went, hey Alexa, can Samuel L. Jackson tell me a joke? And then it went through the whole promotion. Yeah. That's the only thing I did.
That's pretty funny. That is. Yeah. And sometimes, how did you feel in the dream when you met that person in that appearance? Was it a positive, happy feeling of like you as opposed to say, sometimes you look at some people and you just feel that's unpleasant. I'm scared. And some people you look at and like, I'm so happy to see you. I'm glad you're the one talking to me.
There was no like, oh wow, hi, because in my dream he wasn't Samuel L. Jackson.
Sure.
Or he was my professor. So it's like, oh hey, do you know where so and so is? I want to tell him something, and I don't remember what it was. I think it had something to do with science, because I think maybe he was the science professor.
Okay.
But Mace Windu,
the one you were looking for,
probably like my English teacher.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. Yeah, that's starting to get like levels. I don't know. Well, we could sit on it for a minute, come back around a bit. There may not be anything there. Sometimes images really are just random, or we're never going to figure it out. So you ask him and he says, yeah, he's over there. He knows exactly where this other person is.
Yeah, down in the tennis court. And then we're talking about like, oh yeah, he's playing tennis. He could have gone pro if it weren't for the incident or the accident.
Sure. And this was some specific injury to that other teacher, to that other professor, that limited their ability to have a certain kind of life they might have preferred. There's something in that idea too. And then when you arrive down there, he's in a match with
the other student.
With another student, yeah. And this student is antagonizing him in a way of by revealing or making accusatory statements. I know what you did. And
yeah, so like as they're playing, she's saying like, I know what you did to so-and-so. I know you killed her. I saw the body. And like either before or when she said that, I got a flash of like a girl in a basement, throat slit open, clothes like strewn about in the corner, like bloody. And then it went back to, I'm going to report you to the police. You're going to jail for a long time. And then he goes, no, I'm not. Pulls out the vacuum thing.
Yeah.
Have you watched Despicable Me?
But the first one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It looked like the villain's squid launcher minus the squid, and it was just a vacuum.
Yeah, and that is interesting. So you've got this dynamic of professors, knowledgeable people. They're supposed to be guides, caretakers, teachers, passing along wisdom. But there's a competition, student and master, so to speak. And not just that, there's a accusation, students making accusations, and the professor's actually guilty. But this is also someone who is flawed in other ways, denied their preferred destiny, maybe angry about that, to the point of also doing horrible things to other people. Of like, this is a messed up person, that like physically and emotionally. And when they're caught with the accusation, rather than, just continue to deny, they go on the attack. And the attack is a manner of vacuuming out brain which to me suggests, what happens if your brain is damaged? You're less intellectually capable. So taking the brain from someone, destroying their ability to think or remember, harming. Go ahead.
In the dream, when I walked down, it wasn't like a competition. It was just a casual practice match. Like,
gotcha.
They're hanging out, having a good time, and then she throws out, like, I know what you did. And then he goes to kill her, and then he makes that comment, like, oh, man, I like when I can squish the brains myself instead of, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, he was lamented at the fact he couldn't do that until he sucked out her skull, which suggested to me this is something he'd done multiple times before.
Yeah.
But the girl accusing him only knew about that one girl.
Gotcha. It's like, I'm going to make this accusation. Oh, you're right. Like, now I'm going to do it to you.
In my dream, I recognized my teacher is a serial killer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then not just to say this broken person who was living a lie and in a position of authority, but that when caught would lash out aggressively, take that out on the person making the accusation, and in a way that affects the mind, specifically the mind, and to be drawing this kind of a sick pleasure from physically doing it themselves. I want to get my hands in the Play-Doh type of thing. The malicious glee from this mental destruction. I think there's something there. I don't know if that's resonating with you at all from past experiences or other people or concerns about that kind of stuff.
Everything that has been suggested so far just makes me see things in myself that I've had thoughts of before.
Sure.
Like my issues with my parents, or trusting myself with my own thoughts and feelings, or the fact that I'm not in college right now. Like, a main focus for me this year has been, like, I was supposed to be a certified welder after I graduated high school. I was supposed to have my certifications, my license. I was supposed to be able to, like, get a really good paying job and move out and live on my own and be self-sufficient and independent and, like, have everything good going for me. And then the pandemic hit and everything just got screwed. And now I'm going with my last resort option, which is to join the Navy.
Oh, so this dream also happened after you made that decision?
Yeah, this dream happened a couple weeks ago, and that decision happened, like, as soon as COVID hit, and I knew I wasn't getting my certs.
Gotcha.
And I only have one thing standing in the way of me before I can go and go up to MEPS and get everything done. When you mentioned going around just to end up at the same spot, like, yeah, I keep doing all this crap, and there's always something in the way stopping me from getting where I need or want to be.
Sure. Yeah, no. And in terms of the brain sucking thing, I use that as just a shorthand reference, but there's some pop culture understanding of psychologists and psychiatry in general as messing with people's heads rather than trying to open it up in a positive way and help people understand themselves. So I'm not accusing you of anything in that regard of having the wrong idea, but you could be aware of that, of like, so if I go see this person and they don't handle my brain gently, they're gonna hurt me. So you would have this fear that your brain would be handled poorly by this professional. That's kind of what came to my mind. Yeah. And it's a legitimate fear, is like this, because it's coin toss in some ways. I mean, there's a 50-50 chance that they're going to find nothing wrong, or they might decide we're not going to take a chance. And that would have some very serious consequences for your life opportunities and choices. Yeah. You're in kind of a holding pattern. And you kind of mentioned that too, with that looping around to end back in the same place, or not having made any progress, all these unpleasant experiences.
And like a different path thing, I had to go to my mom and be like, does Navy Federal do anything at all? Not Navy Federal, that's my bank. Does TRICARE do anything at all for like mental health things that I can go through the website where I'm covered under the insurance for these people, so I can just see them instead, because this one isn't working. So she sent me a list and we looked through it, and all of them either aren't taking new patients, the newest available appointment is until like August of next year. There's all this crap, like none of them have worked.
Yeah, it's a huge frustration. So that would be maybe one part of it. And then what else? I as we were going along, I kept saying, well, think about that, or let that meditate, or what kind of stood out to you in terms of things that seemed the most relevant, even if you don't know exactly what to make of it.
In the very beginning, when you said leaving the school to go to somewhere else might be like a transitional, leaving one place in your life to another, that again made me think like, I just graduated high school and I'm expected to know so much. I don't even know how taxes work, and I could go to jail for like a felony if I don't figure it out quick. Yeah,
that's true. So where did that take you from that school? So you're just leaving school, but not just any school. It's like your old elementary school. So it's even a place that, when you went there before, it was more of a familiar, comfortable, you were happy there type of place.
That definitely hits, because I felt I've never had like a home growing up, because I'm a military kid. I don't get a say in where I go, when I go, how I go. I just go. Yeah. So moving away from Tucson for the first time was really hard for me, because I moved out after 3rd grade, and I had my best friends, Ethan and Caleb, and my other friend Alex. Like these were my buddies. We were tight. And I remember when we were leaving, when I was moving, because it's a year-round school type thing. This was the end of 3rd grade. I'm at the door out of my classroom. My mom's waiting, like, we gotta go, honey. And, like, I'm saying goodbye to all my friends. And Ethan, like, grabs me by my shirt and goes, don't you ever forget about me. I want you to promise me you're never going to forget about me. And I'm like, I promise I'm not going to forget about you. He goes, no, don't start crying, because if you start crying, I'm going to start crying. And then he starts crying, and I start crying. And Caleb starts crying, and Alex is crying. It's just a big mess of crying children. And then I moved to Washington, and I haven't seen them since. I was born in Kansas, and then I moved to Anchorage, Alaska for 2 years, where my brother was born.
So you really had a tree fort in Alaska.
I went down to Yuma for 1 year in kindergarten. Then I went up to Tucson up until 3rd grade. Then it was Port Orchard, Washington for half a year. Then back to Yuma for half a year. And then Yelm, Washington for a year. And then I lived in Eagle River, Alaska, which is 40 minutes away from Anchorage, from middle school to my freshman year. And I had to end the year early because I had to move. And then I went down to Yuma and spent the rest of my high school experience, and now I'm here in Tucson.
Yeah. Wow. And all of that from thinking back to that elementary school experience where that's like the last bit of normalcy that you had in your life for a long time. Yeah. And then everything just got chaotic.
I kind of feel like I was robbed of a childhood, because like divorced parents on top of being a military kid, I didn't get summer with my friends. I got go to dad's house and get yelled at for playing on your computer even though you don't have any friends here.
Yeah.
Or I got go to mom's house and sit there bored all summer because it's like a new place and you don't know anybody. Like same thing. Just I didn't get a summer with my friends. I didn't get any breaks to spend with my friends or big nice family gatherings. It was always go visit the other parent.
Yeah. So the world became in a lot of ways a more unstable, out of control looking, feeling dangerous place with this lack of consistency and stability of moving around so much. And there might be something there with that path into the woods. You even leave the elementary school, and your last stop is another kind of comfortable, familiar thing, this log cabin you built for your boyfriend in Minecraft. And then you're off into the real wilderness, and there's a lot of people around you that they're not there for your sake. They're not there looking out for you. They're actually there doing dangerous things that could hurt you. And they're doing dangerous things that you see hurt other things around you in some pretty disastrous ways. And and maybe this was your brain's way or just my way of understanding the different ways that people can do dangerous things is out of careless impulsivity, out of what we'd say hubris. They think they're good at something and they're not, and they fuck it up and it has horrible consequences. And wow, where am I going with that?
So
no, go
actually,
ahead.
When you mentioned the log cabin gas station that I recognized as a safe and comfortable place, when you first mentioned that really like resonated, I guess, because I've only been dating this man for a month, and he has very quickly become like my whole life. It's very strange because I'm a very guarded person.
You let
all
him
of
in.
my relationships have ended very poorly. Every single one. I'm not even kidding. And it's like a super red flag when someone says, all my exes are crazy. Not all my exes are crazy. All my exes were really sucky, and one of them was absolutely insane.
Gotcha.
So all of my relationships up until this point have sucked super bad. And there's been points where I'm with him and I'm like, when are you going to start being mean to me? What? You're tricking me right now. And then I have to stop and recognize, like, not everyone's horrible. You got to chill out, bud.
Yeah.
So
that's tough too, because there's always that potential of, someone's not showing me their true colors yet, and when's it going to flip? That's a real concern.
And even his family is like great to me. They have like accepted me into their little area, their tribe, and I feel like more at home there than I do anywhere else I've ever lived.
Yeah.
I really feel safe and comfortable with these people, and it's weird because I'm so used to waiting for the other shoe to drop that I have to remind myself, like, it's okay to be okay. You don't have to be worried all the time.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. And it probably makes you feel a little like you want to work extra hard to make sure you're doing your part, that you're, if he's good and good for you, that you want to live up to that expectation. And that's probably a lot of pressure too. Like, how do I break old habits like being mistrustful or keeping my guard up too high with this person that I really should let in, but it feels awkward and scary to let him in? All of that.
It's easy enough to let him in because he also kind of does a little bit what you do, where he reads into me as a person, not my dreams.
Sure.
And tells me what's up. What's hard is me, myself, having to accept that these things have happened and that I have to work through them and get over it. So when you mentioned, like, I'm trying to turn away from all this bad stuff and then I turn and it's right in front of me, kind of resonated as well, because there's like so much crap that I could go through in my past that just I had to bury and get over very quickly because a new problem would arise quickly. I had to basically become an adult and be the emotional caretaker of my entire family when I was 9.
Wow, yeah.
Which I think is also part of the reason I had those nightmares in high school in the first place, because it was all of those repressed, backed up feelings finally expressing themselves, like, you have to take care of this, and I was too young to recognize it, or even like too underdeveloped to take care of it at the time. So again, I just started not sleeping so I could avoid dreaming at all, so I could avoid that situation. And now that I'm an adult and I've moved out of my bad home situation and I have control over my interactions with people who have hurt me in the past, and like I have more control over my situation, it's like I finally have time to process through all of this stuff that's been backed up in my life. And it's hard because it's like, I'm fine. I'm a well-ish rounded person. I'm a kid still. I'm not exactly sure what's going on all the time, but I'm doing my best. I'm working through it. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I like to say to people is you have to integrate the experience into who you are today. And again, this is not counseling. This is not therapy. Please see a professional. But the basic concept is, if you segregate it and lock it away in a box and never think about it, it doesn't mean it doesn't affect you. It just means you don't understand it and you don't know what to do with it, and it can still affect you. You got to kind of, in the right circumstance, open the box and say, hello, little past damaged me. You're a part of me too. And let's figure out what to do with that. And that might be part of what the dream is showing you through this metaphor of the hunting, of the dangerous world and all these people that are impulsively stupid and possibly malicious and just unskilled in their overconfidence, doing damage left and right. And that affected you and it hurt you emotionally, and you had the tears. And yeah, I think that last bit of, like, you've got this long hill to climb, and in order to get there, you're going to have to see what you don't want to see. You're going to have to just face it. And it's going to be unpleasant, and you'll probably cry, and then you'll come out the other side of it. And it is interesting that immediately after that, in your mind, you've got this experience of, well, you've gone past opening that door, and now you got this experience of an offer of safety that feels like a threat, and ended up being
because he stole my purse.
Exactly. And at the end of it, the worst thing that happened was he took your security blanket in a way, your sense of security away from you, but you went and took it back. He said, no, that's not happening. You did everything you could to keep yourself safe on the journey to the car. So you were in control of that, expressing self-control or
preservation.
Yeah, self-preservation. I'm thinking it's this sense of confidence in your own ability to keep you safe, even though he got the best of you a little bit. There was a little trickiness, but you caught on in time to get your stuff, and you were able to do the next step, which was to escape from the scenario, get your security reestablished, windows up, doors locked. I'm out of here. And even though the danger followed you, you were able to lose it. That's making me wonder if there's the first part of this dream is confront your past, look at all this bad stuff that happened to you, and the second half, or at least the middle part of losing the threat in the maze, is the other half of your mind that says, yeah, but can't I just forget about it? Can't I just lose it? Can't I just ditch this responsibility in the dark? And I'm not sure that's the right interpretation. There's a lot of
definitely makes sense, because I tend to do that a lot, where I'll have like a bad day, bad feelings, bad thoughts, and I'll just like ignore it for the time being. I tend to just, it's been my defense mechanism for so long to just ignore it, put it behind me, don't worry about it, you have more to do, that now that I am settled, it's a bit weird. So when things do pop up that make me upset, I have to remind myself, can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Just work through it.
And there's two ways of looking at that, and I had to get my own head straight on it. One of them is exactly as I said, the dream's telling you in the beginning, look at all this stuff, and then there's that reactive desire to escape, and you do. But there's also, and this is where people go, like they look at psychologists and they say, is this wrong or is this wrong? And the doctor says, it depends. That's true. And so there's contradictory stuff. It's also healthy and normal to say, I looked at this stuff and I dealt with it and I had as much of an experience I could understanding it. And now I am going to put it down on purpose and walk away knowing I'm going to come back to it. It's less of a running away and more of a, I'm going to take a break and then I'll get back to that stuff eventually. And sometimes you have to distance yourself from it in your mind, in your experience, to get distance for perspective, to be able to look back on it, but also just to put it down, because you can't live in trauma all the time. You got to do fun stuff. You got to focus on the positive. You got to do the shit work when you have to, and then go sit on the beach for a while and soak in the sunshine. So I don't want it to look like, don't run away from your problems ever. It's like, yeah, sometimes it's okay to put them down as long as you plan on coming back.
Psychiatrist, even though I know probably that won't happen, but my outlook on life is definitely pessimistic realism. Like,
sure.
Instead of optimistic realism, like, oh, I could maybe find a penny on the sidewalk today when I'm walking out. It's like, I might witness a car crash.
Sure. And Murphy's Law type of thing. I mean, if it can go wrong, it probably will.
I actually did witness like someone either have a stroke or die on the way out of my hospital the other day.
Wow.
So that was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone collapsed, and then you don't know what happened to them. And it's like, whoa.
It wasn't even like, I just saw them sprawled out on the sidewalk in front of one of the benches where you wait for the buses, and there was an ambulance and a dude, I think he had a defibrillator. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Little machine thing.
Yeah,
and that was before I had this most recent dream. So maybe that plays into it too.
Wow. Yeah. Some people are on their way to the hospital because they don't feel so good, and then maybe they don't make it past the front door.
Yeah, I think this dude was like waiting, because it's not like a big medical hospital. It's like get your diagnosis, maybe do a couple labs, and then we refer you to someone who can do your surgery.
Sure.
I think this dude was waiting for the bus home, and then something happened.
Yeah, very, very well could have been. It could have been discharged. You're A-okay, and then they have a complication outside. Who knows? I mean, yeah, that could happen to anyone. You also can't live your life constantly worried about that, because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Number one, you can't stop it. But number two, it's just a miserable way to live. It's like, that's one thing you can turn off sometimes with varying degrees of success. Yeah. So it seems like a lot of this stuff that you've been, the imagery in your dream, and then go into the school place. And that's related maybe to the idea that, you had your school plans frustrated. And so you're choosing a different career path, but in order to get to that path, you've got this potential roadblock of the mental health stuff to just navigate.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'm definitely, have a backup plan for your backup plan for your backup plan.
Yeah.
Person. So if I do get screwed over, like, yeah, you're not mentally fit, then so I could go the easy route right now and just accept my mom's GI Bill and go to college and get my certs, but because of the way she has treated me in the past, I cannot fully trust that I can take that GI Bill without her going, I did this for you, now you have to do this for me, or accept this bad behavior from me.
Gotcha.
So I've decided to just earn my own GI Bill and do it the hard way, as my dad has said,
Sure.
and just trudge through and do it on my own so that I can be 100% assured that I have not been harmed or harmed others in the process of me getting to where I want to be in life.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's something, I mean, I think both methods are valid. You could say rely on a family member that hasn't always been reliable themselves, and, or self-determined, choose your own path, even if it's, I think they both have their own struggles is what I'm trying to say. There's tolerating the relationship issues on one end, and there's dealing with the other physical and procedural difficulties on the other end. And so it's, yeah, I could see one being more appealing than the other, depending on how you look at it.
I'm just trying to go for 2 to 4 years of service and then go to college or tech school on my own. Plus, I like to joke that, like, by the time I get out of the military, I'll be old enough to do all the illegal, fun college, high school stuff without it being illegal.
That's true. Yeah. And there
no underaging for me.
Well, there's actually some exceptions in the military. Like, I think if you're on certain bases, like drinking age is 18 or something. I don't know. Maybe.
If you get shipped out to a place and whoever is in charge is like, yeah, all right, go ahead, then it's allowed in other countries.
Yeah.
As it stands, no.
For sure. Well, does anything else stand out to you, like specific things we hit on, or areas I put a little carrot and said, let's come back to that?
Only thing really is that the cafeteria hallway was completely blacked out. I couldn't see the cafeteria because for a long time through my mental health journey, I imagined different paths I can take in life as just this big dirt road that forks off into different areas, but each one always ended in this huge, dark, black wall that I couldn't see past because that was the end.
Interesting.
That was it. And eventually when I got to a point where I was doing better mentally, I could finally see, like, not only more options, but further down the road until they eventually tapered off into the distance instead of just this big black stopping point. So I think it's interesting that my dream decided to be like, hey, the cafeteria doesn't exist.
Yeah.
With the same imagery I used to mark the end of my own journey.
Yeah. I wonder what I wonder why your mind would use that old symbol to closing a pathway of, like, this is not the direction you're supposed to go. This is just a symbol of
don't go here.
Yeah, but not in like you're forbidden, but like there's nothing useful there. You're not going to find what you're looking for in that area. Might be what it is, because even some of the same dream symbols, imagery can come back in other dreams and represent something different but related. And it's like your brain kind of picks and chooses different. Remember when this thing felt like that? Yeah, well, this thing feels kind of like that, but only in this way. That's a bad explanation, but I think you kind of.
I understood it completely.
Yeah. It's very weird, these things. It'll take if something has 8 characteristics, one of them will pop up in another dream, but none of the others apply. That's something I have definitely noticed working with some other people.
Is there any carrots you have unanswered?
Yeah, I was going to just look back at that real quickly here. I suppose just the idea, just to emphasize it one more time, is that the biggest problem you had with the animals being killed in the beginning section was the violation of that moral code. You seem to, I think that speaks very strongly to your internal sense of ethics. You're very determined to wanting to do the right thing for yourself and in your relationships with other people.
I definitely try. I know I don't hit the mark every single time, but I definitely do my best in all my daily activities to be a person who is able to be relied on and depended on. And I actually, right before I started this interview, I noticed on my calendar I had work today and I had no idea.
Do you have to go like right away?
No, because work is at 5 a.m. and it ends at 10 a.m. So, yay.
Oh.
And normally they call me to tell me, like, hey, you were supposed to come in today. They did not call me, so.
They must not need you. You're probably fine. I mean, it's too late either way, right? Shit.
Honestly, they don't be enough to care.
Fair enough. No, I get that too. It's honestly, I would love to do this for my day job. Never have to leave my house again. I'm really a hermit. I would live in a cave in the mountains if I could get away with it.
Work from home job, I'd take it in an instant.
For sure.
That'd be so nice.
Yeah. Well, the reason I came back around to that is because a lot of this stuff was looking at past negative experiences, negative emotions, fears, worries, doubts about being competent or success or all these other, can you trust people? Are you safe? And I wanted to, at the very end of it, kind of wrap back around to something positive, which is this, the fact that you found the harm being done, not just gross, but morally wrong. Like, this is not acceptable. This violates what I think is important. And that is what brought you to tears. This sense that other people were doing bad things and you didn't like it. And I thought that was very positive about yourself.
I also think it's not very important, but indicative that the things being harmed were animals. Cause I've always been like a huge animal activist, I guess. Not with PETA at all, because they're horrible. But like, when I was younger, when I was like super little, there was a show called Pit Boss or Pitbull Rescue. I don't even remember.
Oh, yeah, I remember those shows. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all run by people with dwarfism, and they would go rescue pit bulls. And Shorty, the main guy, had like his big dog Hercules and all this jazz, and he was advocating for why pit bulls aren't a vicious breed. And I actually wrote a letter to them.
Aw.
I wanted to grow up and go work for them.
Did you get a response? Did they write back?
I did not.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah.
Get a response. But like my whole life, I get like angry and sad when people do horrible things to animals, because they don't know what's going on. They're innocent. They're living in their own little bubble, trying to get through life. They're not even aware of their own mortality.
Yeah. That gives a human.
They are the purest form of innocence. For
sure. And that gives humans that extra layer of responsibility. I mean, we know we're the only creatures on the planet that can do real evil. Like, because evil's a choice too. I know this will hurt, this will harm, this will destroy, this will damage another person. I know that before I do it, and you have that choice. I'm going to do it anyway. That's evil in my understanding. Is that almost a desire to do harm for pure malicious satisfaction.
What is the point?
Yeah, and it's terrible.
I have that outlook on other things too, because my boyfriend has also had bad past experiences, and sometimes he's like, I don't know, I'm afraid you're going to find out you're too good for me and leave me, or
he says that to you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
he's
sweet.
Like, you might cheat on me, and I know it's stupid, and I'm like, honey, I'm not my mother. And two, it doesn't even make sense in my brain as to why you would cheat on someone. I genuinely don't understand it. Like, I get breakups are hard, and the only reason I see is that you're avoiding breaking up with someone because it's too hard for you to deal with. But if that's what it is, then you're too immature to be in a relationship in the first place.
It's true. Yeah. Some people are opportunistic and they're not connected enough to feel like the relationship's worthy of protecting, preserving, maintaining.
If you're cheating to cheat just because you want to, then you suck. But also, I guess, a rumor I heard about Stephen Hawking. He cheated on his wife.
Right?
Yeah, I
did hear that too.
And it wasn't like my wife was like, he genuinely just didn't understand, at least the way it was described to me, like, why cheating was bad. He didn't get it. He thought, like, it was just sex and it was meaningless, and it didn't even matter to him. And his wife was like, no, that's pretty messed up, my guy.
Yeah, and it can be. I mean, it's that violation of trust. It's like an agreement between two people. We are together, no one else, right? Oh, sure. And then that gets broken. There's another way of looking at it, which is some people have, polyamorous open relationships. If that's your agreement from the beginning, there's no cheating.
That's a consented thing.
And everyone's on board. You know it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we covered some pretty good ground. How do you feel about the dream itself and some of the understandings we've suggested?
I definitely feel it's less random now, because my past dreams where they all had a theme, it eventually happened so much I could figure out why it was happening to some extent. Yeah. And I actually posted the very first one I had when I was 15 on Reddit, if you would like to go look at that. Yeah, because this is the first one I've had in a long time. I haven't had nightmares in so long. Every dream I've had was, like, random and made no sense for no reason. Like, another recent one I was hanging out with my boyfriend, and this was before I got my license, but I was hanging out with my boyfriend, and we were going to his house, but in his car was his brother, and then I was taking my own car, and we were following the same path to get to his house, and I stopped at the gas station real quick, and I was like, oh, I'll meet you there. Love you, honey. And then instead of going to turn to his house, I just go straight, and I end up in a church parking lot, and they're watching a movie on a projector, and I think the movie was Shrek, because the entire church was themed to look like Shrek. Like, there was a giant Gingy cutout over the church, and, like, I go inside, and there's this priest rabbi dude who kind of looks like Jack Black mixed with Jonah Hill. Just like this big portly man with a huge afro and a big bushy beard. And he looks like Shrek. He's dressed like Shrek. And then he says one specific word to me. It started with an X, and I recognized it in the dream as a holy word. I don't remember what it was, but he says that to me, and then suddenly he's gone.
Interesting.
And that was just random. And like the deer release. Just random dreams that make no sense. And then this most recent one happened where it was random, but it had themes of, like, my past nightmares, and I was like, guess I'll write about that. That was odd. Yeah,
for sure. And then you may have some more that have similar connections, because this is my theory of dreams, is that they're definitely almost always related to hopes and fears. Are we want this to happen, or we're afraid this might happen. I want to be good enough. I'm not good enough. I want that job. I might not get the job. I want relationships to work. I want to stop hurting from my past. I want to understand it better. A lot of this type of stuff. So if you can kind of figure out what the images mean, then it's like, this is what's on your mind now. This is what was processing in the background while you're unconscious. When people say, I don't know, let me sleep on it. Let them sleep on it. That's literally, sleeping on it is one of the best ways people figure out how they feel about something. I'm a big believer in that. Just even if you just have to take a nap, maybe that you wake up with some inspiration.
There's a thing I saw a while ago that's like relationship advice, where it's like, never go to bed angry at your partner. That's stupid. Don't do that. If you think the argument's being drawn out and no one's making any headway, just go to bed, because being angry and tired makes you cranky, and it'll just make the situation worse, and you might wake up and realize that was a stupid argument to have.
Yeah, some people get really stuck in their emotional, say, defensiveness. People get stubborn, and they know it. And sometimes that happens to me too, where I'm like, no, I wanted my little inner 2-year-old, because I won't admit that I didn't do that. That's not what I really think or feel. And I'm like, if I give it some time, I get out of that stubbornness, and I'm like, okay, the feeling's different now. I can express myself differently. I can admit something, and it's a different. Taking a break sometimes. Sometimes you have to leave your troubles behind in that maze, and just with the idea of coming back around to fix it again another time when the time is right.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. No, I mean, that's just about all I had. I don't have to keep you here forever, right. Unless there was more you wanted to talk about. I'm happy to do so, but I think we covered some pretty good ground.
Yeah, everything's good on my end. Thank you for having me on.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we'll if you hang out for a minute, we'll talk just a little bit afterwards. And yeah, I'll wrap it up and say to everyone watching, thanks for joining us for another episode of Dreamscapes. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. I'd love to do this for a day job. Thanks again to Dio for joining us. Yes, and thanks for listening.